There are a lot of great reasons to add solar to your metal roof. It helps reduce your carbon footprint, adds value to your home, requires little maintenance, and it's a great investment that can put a little extra money in your pocket. But what's the best way to calculate just how much money you can expect to pull in from your solar array? And what does the timeline look like for getting a return on your investment? Join us today as we take a deep dive into this topic. We'll start out by speaking with Greg Cowlishaw, Director of Sales at S5, to find out why metal is such a superior mounting platform over other roof types when it comes to adding solar. He'll also show off some of the different methods for mounting to a metal roof and how much you can save by going railless. Then in part 2, Mark Guys will look at some of the ways ROI is calculated and the factors that can drastically affect your costs. Let's get into it. Greg, thanks very much for joining us today.
Great to be here.
So we've been on quite a run here this summer talking about solar. We've been talking about mounting, talking about designing your system, talking about module level power electronics, but we feel like that at this point, it's a great time to start talking about your return on investment. Let's be honest, when people are thinking about adding solar to their roof, they don't want to just go green, they want to make a little bit of green too. So to start out and get everyone into this topic, what are some of the basic type of roofs that you're going to see solar mounting to? Let's give them a refresher.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And thanks for pointing us in the right direction and getting us going here. And I appreciate the enthusiasm and the passion. Nobody could do it better. Let's just start with one of the most basic types of roofs that everybody sees out there on their way home from work. And that's just a residential asphalt shingle roof. The module is attached to a rail system similar to what you might see here. And then that is lagged into the structure, to the home itself. And then there's some sort of flashing detail to help with the weather protection.
Sure.
And that's really all there is to it. It's pretty straightforward. There's also another type of asphalt roof, and that's in commercial applications, built-up roofs and whatnot. Typically, the application for attaching solar to those types of roofs is through a ballasted type system. You'll find this same type of ballasted system on membrane roofs, whether that's EPDM, TPO, reinforced PVC, etc. And really, these are tilt systems. Those roofs are typically flat, so they will tilt them up a little bit, to get the optimum angle for efficiencies. That tilt is also there so that they can put ballast or cinder blocks or whatever between the rows or underneath the solar panels as well. There's also another type of system that's used to attach, besides ballast, to membrane type roofs. And that's a fully attached system. And really what you're doing there is screwing down a plate to the roof itself, and then there's a heat welded membrane piece that's put over it for the weather protection. They all have a specific or inherent traits or characteristics that warrant themselves to specific types of mounting systems. Some are better than others. Some roof types are better than others to attach to. And what we're going to do now is get into the metal roof side of it, because that's where our passion is, right? That's what we do. So there's two different types of metal roofing, basically. There's standing seam roof, and there's an exposed fasten roof, okay? Sure. Standing seam roof, it's really simple. It's just a metal roof that's attached to the structure with clips that are concealed between the joints or the seam itself. And actually, it's penetration free.
Sure,
okay?
Yeah.
Through the sheet metal. An exposed fasten, it's really just what it says. There's exposed fasten, it goes by other names, face fastened or screw fasten, exposed fix, etc. But they're all really the same. And what that is where the roof is attached to the structure or to the deck through a specialty screw, and then once it's attached, you can actually physically see the screws from above.
So obviously here at S5, we're big fans of metal roofs, not just because we make attachments for them, but because of their longevity. And that's a big thing to factor in when you're adding solar to a roof. So tell us a little bit about why the metal roofs become so much superior to asphalt and other types of roof when looking at it from that standpoint.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is the durability, it's the longevity. You're going to get metal roofs typically in the 50 to 70 year range, whereas other roof types are going to be somewhere in the 15 to 25 for the asphalt. Just depends on the quality and the price that you pay, right? Yeah. If you're investing in an asset such as a solar array, and then at some point it's going to outlive your current roof, you kind of need to rethink the numbers and take a look at it in a little different way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? So metal roof, like I said, is going to last 60 to 70 years, where a typical array, somewhere between the 35-year range now, and I think it's gone up to 40 in some instances, which makes it all the more important to have a roof that's going to last 60, 70, and sometimes we've seen them last over 100 years. The other thing too with metal roofing is it's sustainability, okay? we're in solar for all the right reasons, right? Reduce fossil fuel consumption, reduce CO2 emissions, and metal roofing as an industry is very much, the goals align perfectly with that, right?
Yeah.
A long-lasting roof that has 100% recyclable materials. You very rarely see a metal roof in a landfill. You will see asphalt, shingle, and EPDM roofs in landfills. I think it makes up 7 to 10% of landfills today. Metal's the perfect platform for even green energy. Forget about attaching some solar to it, but just as a roof in and of itself. The other thing to mention is just the cost of installing solar on a metal roof is far less. The initial cost of a metal roof is going to be more than most roof types. Metal roofing is going to be more expensive than your other roof type, at least that initial cost. But now you start factoring in cost to put solar on that roof, and all of a sudden that installation time and the materials is going to offset that cost of the metal roof, the initial purchase price of that metal roof, right? If you're considering metal roofing and your solar array as a single asset, the first time it's installed, and I'm saying that for a reason here, you're going to find out, is going to be offset and it's going to be less, okay, between the two. But God forbid something happens to your roof or it wears out or you need to replace it, the odds of that being on the metal roof are almost zero, okay? Can almost guarantee you at some point in the life cycle of your other roof type, you're going to be needing to do disassemble the array. You're going to have to put a new roof on, and then you got to reassemble. So that's really going to affect that. And in all the times that I've been in roofing and construction and solar, I have never seen where the return on investment is calculated expecting to have to re-roof.
In light of that potential, it seems like then it's a great place for our ROI discussion from here to basically focus on metal roofs. It's going to be our way to get the most longevity out of that system, but from there it feels like we diverged down two paths. We've got rail-based option, we've got a railless option. Clearly, there seems to be a little bit more involved here in a rail-based system. So let's start here. What are some of the components that are going to go into one of those systems?
The one thing you're going to find with rail systems, you can see a lot of different componentry that's involved. There's more weight involved, there's longer assembly time, there's a completely different layout process than versus direct attach as well. I don't know if I mentioned it, but considerably more weight, so your logistics and your shipping and your material handling is going to be far different with a system like this compared to a direct attach. Now there's some positives to it as well. If you need to do a tilt, sometimes the rail system will allow that. Wire management can be a little bit better, and there's a little bit less space loss depending on the footprint of where your solar array is going to be. And that's not always the case, but in certain circumstances. One of the things that kind of makes this an attractive system to a lot of contractors is they're very familiar with it. Okay.
Absolutely.
They are used to using the same system almost on their asphalt shingle roofs as in all different types of roof types, right? Installation time is longer, okay? If you think about the material handling, just the coordination of getting rail systems on site, on a roof, coordinating it with the modules, doing the layout, you need to do some measurements, you gotta snap lines, you gotta bring the rail up, you gotta start attaching it, and this is all before a module's even brought up on the roof.
Sure.
One of the other things too is with rail, you are having to field cut and kind of somewhat customize and moving the system around. And you're doing a lot of that on the roof.
Of course, yeah.
Itself, right?
Depends, very roof dependent then too, no matter where the skylights are or dormers or anything like
so
that.
You're kind of working around and you're laying everything out, but then you have to come back and make adjustments on the, while you're doing it.
Sure.
So the shipping costs on a typical 250K system on both, far less expensive to ship a direct attach system than it is to bring out a 250K system on a flatbed truck.
Well, that seems like a perfect place to segue then and start talking about railless mounting then. And comparatively, it seems like we've got a few less parts here and stuff. Tell us a little bit about what we got here then.
One of the things you'll see here, not to oversimplify it, but here's the basic componentry that's involved. This particular one is a PV kit, direct attach, with a standing seam clamp. If you're on exposed fasten, like we talked about earlier, you're dealing with some sort of bracket, but it's the same PV kit. Yep. These are universal to all solar modules that are out there. The rail's already in place, right? So why duplicate the efforts that somebody else did when they built the roof? And installation is much faster. It's the lay and play. You're just using the module as your jig or your spacer as you're moving up and doing the installation. You're saving on approximately 30% on your labor cost and and installation time. You know, less time on the roof, you know, the better.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a learning curve, and we do find people hesitant to try a direct attach system when they've been using the rail their whole life, but why not? I mean, if you want to set yourself apart from what everybody else is doing and be able to be of benefit to not only your own company, but to the building owner, go with the direct attach system. It's less cost for you to install it, less cost for them, and aesthetically, holding value, long-term return on investment, it's a win-win. You know, you're basically gonna be somewhere around 40% less in material cost alone. That's not including shipping and logistics and everything else. That's just on the material itself with a direct attach system. You know, the other thing too, we talked about the labor and the speed of installation and the simplicity of it. And so once you've got past that learning curve, you know, you're gonna be somewhere saving ballpark 30% plus on your labor cost alone. So, and then if we talk about shipping, I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. We talked about the weight, the size, the volume of these two systems. You know, that alone with shipping costs today, you know, who knows what that's gonna save you, but we've seen excess of 60% savings on shipping alone.
Wow. So now that we've kind of covered some more of the specifics of these basic mounting methods, let's take a deeper dive into these with a look at ROI calculations with someone who's a little bit more familiar with it. Let's bring Mark Guys in here and have him take us through this next steps.
No, excellent. Let's do it.
It's time for us to take a break, but there's still more to cover. Next time, we'll talk about the things you'll need to know when determining the return on your solar investment before looking at some example calculations. We'll also go into the money-saving tax incentives currently available that may apply to your next project. And hey, if you've not done so yet, please throw us a like and hit subscribe. It really helps out our channel. You can also drop us a comment below if there are any metal roofing matters you'd like to hear us talk more about. We'll see you next time, everybody.